From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
It's the first day of summer and high temperatures are leaving passengers behind. How the heat wave is affecting Sky Harbor travelers. And as temperatures continue to increase, climate change's concerns continue to grow. What local experts are saying about what these temperatures mean for our future. And despite high temperatures, some Valley residents continue to enjoy their favorite outdoor activity. Coming up, the risks of hiking in the heat and how to plan ahead.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Emily Bloom.
And I'm Patricio Espinosa. Thank you for joining us. The first day of summer is bringing some of the worst heat Arizona has seen in years, with the National Weather Service issuing a heat wave warning across the South. We have team coverage on today's heat wave and how it is affecting the community. We begin with our weather reporter, Madison Koner. Madison, it is hot out there.
Good news, but not so great news. We broke a record today at 118, and it doesn't stop there. It actually is supposed to get as hot as 120, and that is well above the record of 116 that was made last year. And that excessive heat warning has been extended until Sunday. Now, we do have a few tips for you to help prepare to the heat. Make sure you're staying hydrated, dress for summer, wear your sunscreen, and stay out of the direct sun, and that goes into making sure you're in air-conditioned places. Now, I have more for you later, so stay tuned.
American Airlines has canceled more flights today as the deadly heat wave continues to bake the state. Cronkite News reporter Tyler Finger is at the Sky Harbor Airport tonight with more.
We know these temperatures can be dangerous for us, but for a day like today, when we're expecting the hottest temperatures of the year, some flights at Sky Harbor have been called off. Today in Phoenix, as the temperature soared, some planes weren't.
We're worried a little bit about the weather. It's at 120 degrees today. I know as an ex-pilot that you don't fly in hot weather very well.
American Airlines making the call to cancel more than 40 flights today that were scheduled to be flown on their smaller regional jets because the maximum operating temperature set by the plane's manufacturer is 118 degrees for those aircraft types. At Sky Harbor today, passengers were hoping their flight wasn't next.
I'd like to get back because I have to go back to work, but I'm leaving at 12:10, so I'm hoping that it won't be an issue.
The airline has been warning all passengers coming through Sky Harbor since Saturday that delays and cancellations were likely.
Had to pick the hottest day to try to fly out of Arizona, but I'm not concerned. I think they know what they're doing, and if there was any danger, that we'd know about it.
American Airlines says they expect today to be their worst in terms of cancellations and delays. As of now, there are none scheduled for tomorrow. Here at Phoenix Sky Harbor, the temperature is just below 120, but when you factor in the temperature on the ground, it's well above that. At Phoenix Sky Harbor, Tyler Finger, Cronkite News.
And Arizona is in the middle of wildfire season. Already we have seen more than 850 fires this year, and that number continues to grow. Reporter Devin Conley spoke with the director of the Arizona State Forestry Department to see how they are dealing with these numbers. Devin.
Residents across Arizona are evacuating their homes due to the spread of wildfires. Arizona State Forestry Division is working to protect the land and homes by suppressing and containing those fires, regardless of concerns from budget cuts from the Senate. More than 200 square miles of Arizona landscape has been charred by wildfires this year. The U.S. Forestry is already dealing with a constrained budget. However, despite a proposed $970 million budget cut to the U.S. Forest Service, the Arizona State Forestry is confident they will continue to keep the land and homes safe. Jeff Whitney, director of the Arizona State Forestry, says one major strain on the department is the number of residents moving to the forested areas.
In Arizona, 1 in 6 Arizonans live in the wildland-urban interface. We have more people moving into the wildland-urban interface on a regular basis, and so that's increased the need to respond and the difficulty in terms of suppressing fires without seeing harm come to landowners and homeowners.
Whitney also noted that while there are talks of budget cuts, the state has always operated in the black. In the broadcast center, Devin Conley, Cronkite News.
As we face record-breaking temperatures today, it's almost impossible to ignore the reality that something is changing in our climate. I had the opportunity to sit down with some experts in our area and talk about the weather we are seeing today and what that means for our future.
These are very high temperatures. This is going to be deadly heat that's coming. Unfortunately, people will die with this heat wave. There's a lot of vulnerable populations out there.
The temperatures we are feeling today, extreme, even for the desert Southwest.
We can have two signals that are in there that help give us our increasingly higher and higher temperatures.
And recent research shows it's not getting any better. A recent report by Climate Central and the Weather Channel predicting 130-degree temps by the end of the century.
I'm not going to say that it's impossible, but I think it's extremely unlikely.
Inigeth says it is more likely we will see a broadening of our heat season.
So all the signals we're seeing for the warming, they're the two primary drivers that we're going to be seeing for that, whether it's warmer record overnight low temperatures or the expansion of the heat season. So those two primary signals we're seeing, the urbanization, that urban heat island, and also the background regional climate change that's taking place.
ASU grad student Kayla DeVault, who studies renewable and sustainable energy and attended the United Nations Climate Change Conference last year, is also concerned about urbanization.
A lot of unintelligent infrastructure. And I think part of that population boom meant more infrastructure, it meant more heat retaining materials that creates the urban heat island. And it also means more cars, more pollution, more use of water.
The urbanization is going to be the larger contributor here in Phoenix to more record high temperatures, as opposed to the regional climate change.
David Hondula with ASU School of Geographical Sciences and Urban Planning studies the effect of heat on our health.
And in many places for which data are available, heat-related deaths are on the decline.
What is unclear at this point is whether that is attributed to more access to the AC, a general increase in life expectancy, or an adaptation to the heat. And as for our future,
that's where a lot of our work focuses on, improving our forecast, and then how do we better get that information out to our partners, who in turn will act on that information to help mitigate the impacts from the extreme heat.
Hondula says researchers are studying this current heat wave, and it will help us learn a lot more about the impact that this kind of heat has on our health.
And with more than 200 miles of trails in the valley, come rain, shine, or heat, some Phoenix residents and visitors are still enjoying their favorite hikes. Cronkite News reporter Annika Walters is at Echo Canyon Trailhead on Camelback Mountain to see about the dangers of hiking in this extreme weather.
Here at Echo Canyon Trailhead, this thermometer next to me doesn't actually measure the temperature of the air, but it measures the temperature of the rocks and the terrain on the trail. Now, park rangers tell me even though this is already clocked out at 120 degrees, this trail can reach up to 180 this time of day, meaning hikers will stay much cooler in the morning.
I've been born and raised our whole life in Arizona, so something you kind of learn to get used to and you live with, but I mean, it's definitely something you want to come out here before it gets too hot during the day and not be out in the middle of it.
The temperature does get to you, especially coming down in the sun. It starts to get real hot and you look for shade spots and pause in them.
But no matter how hot it gets, Park Ranger Chris Webb said the trail is always open.
The trail never gets closed due to the weather. The only time it ever gets closed during business hours is if there's a rescue and we need to close it down.
When the temperature reaches this level, firefighters warn that it's best to stay inside. Captain Rita Bigler of Phoenix Fire Station number 61, the fire station closest to the base of the Echo Canyon Trail, said heat stroke can happen faster than you think.
You can skip right past heat exhaustion and get into a point where you're into heat stroke, which is actually, it can result in death. So that's one of those things. Now you put yourself on the mountain in terrain that makes it a little bit tricky for firefighters to get to. Time is not on your side.
Captain Bigler also told me that the firefighters will go through special preparation in order to prepare for the mountain rescues. This includes wearing a full suit, hiking a trail such as this one, carrying weighted backpacks, and extra water. But don't worry about me, I'm staying extra hydrated today. Live at Echo Canyon, Annika Walters, Cronkite News.
And foreign visitors met today in D.C. That's investors and valley businesses have caught their attention.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we take a look at what's attracting international companies to invest in Arizona.
Heat hits the West Coast, how California residents are dealing with high temperatures.
Fascinating. Sometimes I wish I wasn't so beloved.
Can't you see? Little girl got a hold on me like wow. Baby, I'm howling for you.
It's literally one for the history books.
Enjoy.
What are you doing?
Possibilities. Your day is filled with them.
Reach up, energy in the fingertips, collapse.
TV, play Downton Abbey.
And PBS helps everyone discover theirs. Anytime, anywhere.
Up in the sky, you can see it.
PBS, we're with you for life.
What are you doing?
Possibilities. Your day is filled with them.
Reach up, energy in the fingertips, collapse.
TV, play Downton Abbey.
And PBS helps everyone discover theirs. Anytime, anywhere.
Up in the sky, you can see it.
PBS, we're with you for life.
The Commerce Department brought foreign investors together with U.S. economic development officials at the Select USA Investment Summit in Washington today. Arizona officials were there pitching the state with hundreds of others as an enticing place for business investment. Our reporter Emma Lockhart is live in our D.C. bureau and tells us what state and city officials had to say about Arizona to business leaders from around the world.
Always be closing. It's a common phrase in sales and one that Arizona economic officials were using today at the Select USA Investment Summit. Their goal, to draw in foreign business investors to Arizona.
We're looking forward to closing some deals and bringing some people to Arizona.
Economic officials from Phoenix, Glendale, Chandler, and Gilbert came together at the Select USA Summit today. Their top selling points, the state's local cost, its skilled workforce, and growing innovation. Innovation like automation that Arizona is already marketing.
We launched a new campaign called The Connected Place, where we actually hone in on autonomous vehicles, wearable technology, Industry 4.0, which is automation, and ultimately cybersecurity.
Bob Denny from the Arizona Commerce Authority credits Governor Doug Ducey for much of the state's success.
He has a lot of experience in that world and understanding what it takes to make a business work, what regulations are stifling to businesses, and is doing all that he can to make it a pro-business environment.
According to Select USA, Arizona received $232.9 million in foreign direct investments in 2017. And more is on the way. Arizona officials announced at the summit this week that the Italian company Aquafil plans to build a manufacturing facility in Arizona.
And despite President Donald Trump's sometimes tough talks on trade, vendors at the summit actually said that the people he appointed as trade representatives could actually help sell the U.S. to investors. Live in Washington, Emma Lockhart, Cronkite News.
The Arizona Court of Appeals ruled today on an order that could increase tuition for thousands of college students in Arizona. The decision overturns DACA students' eligibility for in-state tuition. Although the DACA program grants work permits for immigrants who were brought illegally to the country as children, the leading judge ruled that these students don't qualify for in-state tuition. Federal laws allow for each state to act on certain benefits for DACA students. There are currently nearly 28,000 DACA recipients in Arizona.
A settlement today in a class action lawsuit involving former Arizona prisoners and Bank of America. Inmates can earn minimum wages, but they do not have access to their income until they are released. And when that happens, they have to use a bank account set up by the state, in this case with Bank of America, who has now agreed to return what a class action lawsuit refers to as excessive fees. At least 70,000 former Arizona inmates are expected to receive more than $168,000 on return fees, according to the plaintiff's attorney. The money is connected to Bank of America prepaid cards issued to former inmates to retrieve any income earned while imprisoned.
The Bank of America will no longer charge excessive fees to inmates released from Arizona Department of Corrections.
The settlement calls for the reimbursement of all debit card fees to the former prisoners who were issued Bank of America cash-paid debit cards. The cards carry fees not charged to regular consumers, including a $15 per transaction fee at a bank teller window. 3 former inmates started the lawsuit.
Praise the Lord that there was justice, and today is a very proud day that we were able to, as inmates, through other sources that believed in us, to get this far.
Justice has been served because it's very unfortunate for corporations who have so much money to be taking money from people who are walking out with next to nothing.
It's not about the money. It was about the principle of what was happening.
And a website has been set up to reach out to those involved. Bank of America has agreed to no longer collect any fees at all. And the Associated Press reports Bank of America spokesman Will Wilson called the terms a standard for the prepaid cards and said the settlement was in everyone's best interest.
Phoenix officials are approving $26 million for additional spending to cover taxpayer costs for the racial profiling lawsuit of former Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Taxpayers have already spent nearly $66 million on the case. The new spending will cover the cost of complying with court-ordered overhauls of the sheriff's office. This will also pay officials to monitor and investigate the agency.
Greg Patterson, a member of the Arizona Board of Regents, announced his resignation from the board effective immediately. Reports indicate that Patterson's resignation stems from the insulting comments he made to a rural state lawmaker in a private meeting. He also recorded that meeting where they argue over cost containment in higher education. To fill the position, Governor Ducey is appointing Karen Taylor Robson, a founder of a real estate company.
For those brave souls willing to go outside this week, I have your temperatures coming up.
And today's extreme heat means it could be uncomfortable for our four-legged friends. How the community is helping animal shelters cool down.
I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. Now.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Keeping one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong. Do you believe Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Keeping one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong. Do you believe
Arizona is not the only state dealing with extreme heat. It is impacting most of the Southwest. Cronkite News reporter Devin Gooden joins us from the Los Angeles Bureau. Devin, it's gotta be a little cooler out there.
Patricio, the only cool place in Los Angeles County is where I am standing along the coastline in Santa Monica. The difference in temperature is striking between here and the rest of Los Angeles County. In Santa Clarita, California, 35 miles from downtown Los Angeles, record high temperatures topping out over 105, which, surprising for the month of June, are keeping most people inside.
But definitely stay hydrated, wear a hat, wear sunscreen, protect your animals as well. We have a lot of people bringing their dogs out in the park.
Residents are taking precautions to make sure they are safe during the summer.
Most of the time I'm drinking lots of water, cold water, wearing minimal clothes, and fan and AC.
Pet owners also need to be concerned about the heat wave and their need to take care of their furry friends. At All Creatures Vet Hospital, they have already seen some cases of heat exhaustion.
The pets are very furry, they have a lot of hair, so it's not like us where we're outside and we could go in the pool to cool off. You know, they have a big, thick coat, and especially with the 100 degrees, they will get very heated very quickly.
Instead of staying inland, people have flocked to the beaches like the one in Santa Monica, where it is at least 35 degrees cooler than the valleys with a nice cloud cover. Marcus Escartan of neighboring Northridge took advantage of those conditions.
We looked and it was supposed to say like tomorrow in the valley would be like 101.
101 will feel like a cool wave compared to the spikes in temperature Los Angeles has struggled with for the past week. And there's no end in sight unless you're here by the beautiful beaches.
And as we mentioned before, the National Weather Service has issued an excessive heat warning for Southwest states.
Madison Connor tells us how this heat wave is expected to play out in the following days.
Well, it sure felt like summer here for quite some time. It's officially the first day of summer. Now the high today is 120. That's really hot, and on top of this heat, we do have quite a bit of dust blowing around out there. Now, the whole state of Arizona is feeling the heat right now. Poor Lake Havasu is over there at 122. I can't even imagine that. And then Shoalo is at 90, and so is Flagstaff. Now, this whole area here in magenta is actually the area that is under the excessive heat warning. So we have 117 out in Buckeye, 118 in Goodyear and Glendale, and then 101 over there in Superior. Now going into our 7-day forecast, those triple digits stick around. Tomorrow we have 118. Thursday we are at 113, so it drops off just a little bit. And then the rest of the week, we do drop off at 110 on Monday and Tuesday. I'm Madison Connor, Cronkite Weather.
Sheltered pets are keeping cool at Maricopa County Animal Care and Control thanks to some generous donations. The community has provided items for the sheltered pets, including ice, kiddie pools, and popsicles. One company donated 3 tons of ice to the Phoenix location this morning. Volunteers and staff like Melissa Gable came in this morning to distribute the ice to the dogs.
What folks often don't realize is, although we're a government entity, only about 5% of our budget comes from taxpayer dollars, and so we don't have the resources to go out and purchase those items. So the fact that the community is stepping up and donating, it really is making a difference for the shelter pets.
Maricopa County Animal Care and Control put a plea out on their Facebook page asking for donations from their Amazon wish list. Gable says they've already surpassed all of the amounts of the items needed, so they keep adding to it. An Irish band is heading back to the Valley, where they started their Joshua Tree Tour 3 years ago.
But this time around, they introduce an Arizona artist. Coming up on Cronkite News, we meet a top Arizona poet whose work struck a chord with a legendary band.
The war by 1966 began to impact the middle class, because the draft calls had to be enlarged. They couldn't get enough people to volunteer or draft people out of the working class. They started drafting people out of college. And that's when the anti-war movement shifted from a moral movement to a self-interest movement.
Heaven knows you're a dreamer. Don't hide it from anyone. Don't hide it from anyone.
Irish band U2 is coming to Glendale for its Joshua Tree Tour. The group started and finished the same tour 30 years ago in Tempe. That's not Arizona's only role in influencing the band. Arizona's poet laureate, Alberto Rios, shared his work with them.
What's wonderful about U2 is the connection they have to language and to poetry. It's not unlike Bob Dylan winning the Nobel Prize for Literature. We're starting to see that connection of the musicality of language, that it can lift itself, it can enter the heart in a way different from simple words.
Rios's border poem will be viewed during U2's pre-show. The poem is in Rios's book, A Small Story About the Sky. He says he has no idea how U2 chose his piece.
And Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we'll look at what's being done to help folks deal with our current heat wave, and we'll learn about an encouraging new cancer drug that's been successfully used to treat a variety of tumors. That's the next Arizona Horizon.
News Tonight. Thank you for joining us.
And for top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org. Thank you.